Hey champions, it is Tuesday. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today is my father's birthday, so I'm really excited about that. Happy birthday, Abu. So I hope he's having a wonderful day. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It's a good day. So what's happening today? Tonight is our live stream, Exploring the Library. I'm actually sitting down with Alex. We'll be doing this in person, and we'll be talking about cards that are better suited for going second. Now, this is a very interesting topic. It's something that's been wildly controversial about Genesis. A lot of people have reached out to me, especially in the early days when Alpha had just launched, and they had a feeling that, hey, they wanted a lot. There was a lot of people who wanted a lot of influence on how the rules of the game should move forward. And I had a very specific direction. So there are times where I was stubborn and dug in my heels. And there are other times where I opened up the space to let a lot more people to be creative and put in their input. So it's something as a game designer, you have to find the balance between. Because on one hand, you do want people's input. You want to have those discussions and push forward in the right spaces. But on the other hand, you don't want to give in to everything. It's still your game. So I was learning a lot about that in the early days. The premise of the game, of the idea of whoever's going first stays going first every single round, it means that you have to practice being first or second. And it actually matters. That decision really matters in gameplay. In other games I played, not just TCGs, but games as a whole, you, after a certain point in the game, it doesn't matter who went first at the beginning of the game. Eventually, I like this, but like, so just on a long enough timeline, eventually that early decisions doesn't matter as much. But in Genesis, it always matters about, did you go first or did you go second? And because of the fact that it always matters, I'm asking the community to practice being first or being second. And I know some people who have house rules where they alternate who's the starting champion every single round. Feel free to do house rules. I had this conversation with Red Zone Rogue about, at the end of the day, enjoy your game and have fun with it. But also keep in mind that when you go to a competitive scene, you're not going to be able to bring in those house rules. So you do have to think about what it's going to be like on a competitive format. So, that being said, there are cards that are specifically better for going first or going second every single round. And you need to gear your deck in that in that approach, right? So, that being said, I hope wherever you lie on this conversation, you're willing to have the conversation and you're willing to understand that. So what's going through my head is, again, this conversation I had with Red Zone Rogue. It was a great conversation. It was 3 hours long. It was the first time the two of us got to sit down and chat. And there was just so many good points that came about it. So one thing we talked about was how different games appeal to different mindsets. And one of the things that I asked for from Genesis players is to be of the mindset that if you fail, you learn to pick yourself back up, learn from your mistakes, and grow and become better at it. You didn't lose because of the roll of the dice. You didn't lose because of a bad hand. You lost because you were put in a situation you weren't ready for yet. And next time you'll be ready for it, right? It's about growing as an individual. So with that philosophy in mind, the idea of going first or going second, your deck needs to be designed and comfortable in either or approach. So I hope you're excited for the live stream. I hope you join us tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. It should eventually scroll along the bottom of the screen. But the Exploring the Library series, I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, and it gives us an opportunity for me and Alex to talk to game design philosophies and theories. And I get to put him on the spot and question him about a lot of these things. So if you join us tonight, that's wonderful. If not, come rewatch the episode later. And I'll make sure there's a link to the playlist somewhere above. I'll point to it now so I can remember to come back here and add that. All right. That being said, I'm actually gonna tell you about a card that I feel is actually really powerful if you're going second, and that's a Gelada Baboon. Gelada Baboon? Gelada? I always called it Gelda, but there is that A in the middle of the L and the D. It's a Gelada Baboon. It's not one of my cards, so pronunciation isn't 100% in my play. There is this whole conversation people have been asking about the pronunciation of cards. It's something I would love to do, but it's also something that we're borrowing words from a lot of different languages. We try our best to learn how to pronunciate those things and talk about the origins, but what matters a lot more to us is the mythological meaning, the symbolism behind the card, and the name of the card compared to the actual pronunciation. That is something that comes secondary. It doesn't mean it's not something we think about, but it is something that comes secondary. All right, so, and that being said, let's look at this creature. For 5 chi, you get 3 health, 3 attack, beckon at 9, and blitz. So, a few things to note here. First is it's 3 health and 3 heavy attack, which is slower than the Gelarian Hound. If we compare this to the Gelarian Hound, which is 3 health, 3 attack, 5 chi, also 9 aura to beckon, but that has a swift attack. But this gets blitz. So that's what you're trading off. You're trading off the swift attack for the blitz. Let's look at this artwork done by Camilla. There is this whole entire joke around this. In the middle of our live stream, I talked about how this artwork soothes me and or calms me. And Alex made fun of me. He made a small little meme about it. And I actually took that and turned it into my profile picture for Zoom and a bunch of other places. The big thing about it is I love the color palette to this card. On one hand, it has the red tone that's required for you to instantly recognize that this is a Thymos card. But at the other hand, it does explore quite a few other color palettes, and it gives a more world feeling to it, which I really enjoy. So there's a lot about this piece that I really love. The artist is absolutely amazing. She was actually on a live stream with Steve-O, I think last Thursday. So if you get a chance, go watch that video. But all in all, I absolutely love this piece. This summon, the Baboon, did see its first printing in Raise. There wasn't a whole lot that was different between Raise and now. One thing that we were attempting in Raise was getting rid of the reminder text for Beckon, and that confused players too much. So now we've added that back in on all cards in J2. But expect that in the future we'll be expecting enough from our players that they know how Beckon works. It's not a confusing mechanic. It's a staple to the game. You should learn how it works. So if you don't know what it does now, that's fine. Or if it confuses you, but understand that in the future, Beckon is Beckon. It's gonna work the way it always works. So don't question it. Now the only exception will be if it's a Resurrect Beckon, but I don't see that being used forever. So understand how the basic Beckon ability works. All right, let's go back to the J2 version of it. So this card is created by Carl. A lot about this card is very powerful. Let's talk about why this card sees a lot of play and why it is really good if you're going second every single round. So first of all, why does it see a lot of play? This card actually, its counterpart, the one thing that a lot of people compare it to, is Formosan Gorilla. Formosan Gorilla has the downside that, well, okay, let's talk about its upside. Let me just find it and put it up on screen first. But this card does get compared to Formosan because the two are very similar. You're looking at the 5 chi slot. You're looking at something with 3 health. The big difference is the Formosan having the range attack and then the enter the arena attack. And so I'm going to be pulling up the Welcome to Gelara version of it. So it enters the, it's 5G again, 14 aura, enters the arena, deals 2 damage right away, and then it has a swift speed attack that it can use turn after turn. It gets compared to the two because The idea is both of them should essentially be entering the arena and dealing damage right away. But the one comparison I really liked is where the Formosan is 14 aura, this is 9. This is, for the same cost, you could play the Gelada and the and Idris's Fireball. So if you're playing Idris, this combination works really well. If you're not playing Idris, then I would look at the Formosan, especially if you're playing Malik, because that gives a range attacker to Malik, which the Gelada doesn't do. So that's the comparison there. Trying to decide which one you want to play. I like the Gelada quite a bit. It does a lot of power, and the fact that it's common means that you can get quite a few of them in your deck and spam them. It's something that one or two of them your opponent's going to be able to handle. When they're dealing with the 6th or 8th of them, it becomes much more challenging. Now, the value of this card going second is the fact that because it's a slower card, if you go first, just say beginning of the round, you and your opponent are face to face, and you end up dropping a few of these, since they're not swift attacks, you can't attack with them right away. You have to wait until their turn, which allows your opponent to take a moment to take a step back, do something like landslide, tsunami, or even just get out of there completely. And then this summon is completely ruined for the rest of the round. There's nothing more it can do. It can chase your opponent down, but it's not going to be able to deal damage. However, if you're going second and your opponent's already exerted, and you drop a bunch of these, well then they can't get out of that as easily. Yeah, there's still the basic evasion, and you got to deal with that no matter what. But they don't get the opportunity to just deal with all your summons and ruin your entire strategy. This is something I came to experience when I did my last tournament. I came in with the Idris starter deck from the Raha versus Idris deck. And all the games I lost were because I went first in those rounds. That deck is geared towards going second. And these slower summons can definitely benefit from going second every single round. So it comes down to your strategy, how well you know your deck, how well you know your opponent, whether you want to go first or not. But this is a summon that the more you practice with it, you'll find a lot more use for it going second every single round. Alright, that's everything I have to say about this card. I rambled a little bit, but as always, this is my ramblings. So you're going to see this happen over and over again. Have a wonderful day, and I hope whatever your goals were you set for the week, you accomplish those things, and we'll talk again tomorrow, or if I'll see you tonight at the live stream. Bye.